where I just talk into this mic while I do my cardio to help my heart heal from the stent I just had placed in it. Hey, welcome back. So today we're going to get a little weird today. We are going to discuss who and what the Ascended Masters are, but I'm going to share with you a little experience, actually quite a few experiences I've had with the Ascended Masters, but one very pertinent experience. And then we'll continue on. I would love to hear your questions and comments and feedback. If you write a question, keep writing it so that I can see it because my glasses are not on. I've got this camera over here or this light in my face. So I'm gonna have to look and study if there's anybody even watching this. Hey, so my experience with the Ascended Masters began a very long time ago. Probably about when this all started, about 20 years ago. After my near-death experience, when I was 14, maybe I want to say when I was about 18 to 20, my first kind of weird connection with it. But let's just use my most pertinent example. So that most pertinent example was in July of 2023, 2 months after I had my hip replaced, and I had a quantum healing hypnosis session. Another practitioner in the area wanted to exchange sessions, so we decided to have me go first. And among that session, part of the process is just to relax in the meditation, and she guides me, and she says, okay, what are you experiencing after she's gone through the meditation? So what ended up happening was, instead of dropping down into a scene, she says, okay, what scene are you in? I started to move upward. And I could feel myself moving upward. And by this time, I'm in deep meditation. And my body's, it's not as tangible as we typically feel it. Sorry, my heart rate, I got to pick it up a little bit. And I just told her, I said, I feel like I'm moving upward. And she says, okay, she's guiding me. And I'm just letting the process happen. And I end up in a little circular auditorium, kind of and I said, I kind of feel like I'm in a meeting, like I'm being judged, but I'm not being judged. She says, okay, look around for me. And so there's like a balcony going all the way around this little tiny circular auditorium, I guess you would call it. And so I got to pick my heart rate up again. And I look around and I see these deeply black, like shadowy figures with these upturned, orangish, like yellowish, reddish eyes. So I explained that to her, and she says, wow, okay, well, what feelings do you get? And I'm like, they're not nefarious. It's not a bad feeling. It's dark in here. There's like deep blue, deep purple color in the room for some reason. It's just dark. It's a dark room. But I don't get nefarious feelings. So she's asking me questions, guiding me through it. Goodness gracious, my heart rate won't pick up. Sorry. And so I'm just going through it. And about 5 minutes in, she says, she's asking me questions, and all of a sudden the room just boom brightens up, and it becomes like this granite, kind of concrete almost circular auditorium, and the figures, the presences that I was seeing around me became more tangible, and they looked like they were just Greek gods, if you will, in these white tunics, and there were men, there were women, and I said, oh, whoa, the scene just kind of opened up, and now I see these people, and she goes, okay, well, what are their names? And in my head started popping these names. So I started hearing, who was the first one? Josiah. I'm not sure who that was. I think that's maybe more personalized for me, like maybe my soul's name or something like that. Yes, that's what I'm getting. Yes, that's my soul's name. Okay, weird. So Josiah, Melchizedek, Yeshua, Michael, Sophia, Samson. I had like 10 names that just kind of like popping into my head. That's a like, sorry. Thought that was a comment. My bad. If you want to comment. Anyways, so this happens, and then I end up having she asks these questions. Who are these people? Blah, blah, blah. And I say, I don't know. They're a council. And so we're talking. Another 5 minutes passes. And she starts asking another question. And I can feel my conscious mind in this quantum healing hypnosis session kind of center in. I kind of like really became this sliver in the center of my body. And when I did that, I could feel the presence of this collective group moving through me, talking through me. And they respond, we know what you're asking. We're going to speak through Zach right now and answer some of your questions in the meantime. And so Renee, the practitioner, says, okay, well, who are you guys? And they say, we're the council. And she says, no, who is the council? And she says, they say, we are the highest of the high beings. And so we go through this whole about hour and a half conversation where this council, who used to call themselves in my head the Council of 11 or the Council of 11, now just calls himself the council. And so they are this group of ascended masters, Jesus, Yeshua, Michael, Sophia, Melchizedek, who could also be Saint Germain, other ones. But there's this group of 10. I didn't get all their names, but those were the ones that were really present in my mind. And so they begin answering questions about life, about all the questions Renee had. They weren't just going to give us all the answers that we seek, the answers that we had. They're not just going to give us all the information. It's kind of like a Google. When you're doing hypnosis, you have to kind of use questions appropriately so that you can get answers. And so Renee was asking questions, got a lot of answers from me. So the Ascended Masters, from that experience, from my understanding, and I'm going to tie this into a book in just a second, is the group of guides. We can call them spirit guides, but they're a little bit more than that because it's almost like they're the guides to the spirit guides. They are the group of souls that have come to understand the depth of knowledge that we all need in this human form. So it goes beyond I'm trying to feel it out for you guys and make this clearly. They are the group of souls that are constantly guiding not just us in human form, but even the souls after we've left this physical body to continually expand and grow into their more idealed form. And what was interesting was I just read a book when I was in Hawaii with my beautiful wife, Shauna, and I read a book called Journey of Souls. When I read this book by Michael Newton, he's also a hypnotherapist. In the book, I suggest you read it. It's quite captivating. But in his experience, he starts compiling different soul levels. And so he says in his experience, he's kind of categorized them just into 6 souls. But throughout all of his sessions with people, he's come to understand that the group of souls that is of the highest vibration, that is the highest wisdom, the highest knowledge, these master souls, they also are represented in deep blue and deep purple color, which I found so fascinating because 2 years ago, like I just said, in my experience, I originally was in a room of deep color of purple and blue. And so for me, that was like a lot of tangible evidence that okay, I'm not, we always want to, for me, I tend to be cerebral, so I tend to question sometimes my experiences, even though I have these very profound experiences. And so it was this conclusive evidence, okay, wow, I was with the masters. And he also goes on to say that oftentimes the masters, when they have attained this really deep, deep wisdom in his experience through these sessions, they become darker in color. And like I said, when I first saw them, they were like the deepest dark color. These shadowy figures is what I thought they were. Sorry, I gotta adjust my just my junk, just my pants. Okay, I'm back. They were the deepest of color. So I was like, whoa, okay, so this is really kind of putting it all together. So anyways, that's my experience with the Ascended Masters. That's one of the most profound experiences I heard with him. Years prior, when I was doing a lot of hypnosis sessions and I was helping people go into the depths of who they were, I was able to speak with their inner beings. I started hearing the voice constantly in my head. So I started hearing their collective voice calling themselves the council, and it was going beyond a point where it was making me a little uncomfortable because I was asking just questions, you know, when you ask yourself like, what does this mean, or am I on the right path? I was starting to hear a voice in my head, a secondary voice answering those questions. And so I remember after about a 2-week period, I started to feel I just wasn't ready for it. This was probably 2019. I was not ready for it, and I said to that group, I said, you know, I just right now, I can't. And they said, okay, just ask. Whenever you're ready, ask and we'll be back. And then it just shut off. And since then, it's been hard to turn that flip that switch back on. So I kind of clickbaited you guys to get you into this video by saying who and what they are. So who they are is a collective group of master souls that repetitively give us guidance in our human form, but more so even guide our guides. So depending on how evolved, how developed our souls are, right? We see our young souls, old souls. Ultimately, we're all of the one creative source. We're all extensions of that one beautiful divine soul. So that's a wonderful thing. But we also have gone through levels. We've also, as individual souls, as part of the collective, we have to expand and learn our own lessons, just like we do in our physical bodies. And so you can connect with that broader non-physical perspective, which is God, at all times. But once you are a master soul, you are the enlightened individual. You tend to vibrate at that frequency. You don't just tend to. That vibrational field, that vibrational frequency range, it is, your default is that incredibly elevated state. So these beings, from my understanding, are the guides to the guides of the guides that are our guides. You know, they've moved through, so there's different levels, but they are with us, they are watching us, they are observing us, they are guiding us, getting us to take action through the inspiration that they're providing us, our hearts and the situations that are aligning for us. That is my personal understanding through my experiences with these souls. Now, when I am, for all of us, for those watching, you have connection with these master souls. You have a clearer connection with your more immediate guides. But yet, when we call out vibrationally to these guides, we do receive information back. And the information comes, this is the tricky part, in the form of inspiration. So a feeling attached to a thought. Oftentimes that's our inspiration. Or our feeling attached to an inspired behavior. Or an outward sign that may come to us repetitively in one form or another, or something that just pops out in our brain really dramatically. That's something that I've realized they really try to communicate is maybe not all the time repetitive signals, but a signal that is very clear and that sticks in your consciousness, in your memory, that you have to then, or that you feel you have to then follow along with. For instance, if you see something on the TV or something, you talk to a friend, and that message sticks into your head, and you tend to like be mulling that over more than you normally would with just a random other inspiration or other conversation that you've had with somebody or phrasing, that's something to look into deeper. And how do we look into deeper with that? We write, we journal, we meditate on it, we allow ourselves to go inward, and we mull that over. But the Ascended Masters, for me, thankfully, it seems that I have a bit more direct communication with them that makes it more fun and also frustrating. So I'll give you another instance. I was trying to connect with them the night before I had the stent placed. I was sitting alone in the hospital room that night, and I was like, I'm just going to journal. And I just need you guys to come through me and give me clarification. And so the whole time I'm journaling, I'm not completely open. I wanted to try to control the outcome I wanted, which was not to have a stent placed, which was instead to have myocarditis, which I could be treated for through medication. And so I'm writing. I feel them moving through me. And the whole time I kept asking in my head, okay, well, what's going to happen? And so that their repetitive message kept coming through as, you have to accept the potential of both roads to get to the same outcome. And we did this video 2 times ago of the stent placement, and I kind of shared this with you guys. But they kept telling me, regardless of what it was I wanted, you have to accept the paths to the different outcomes. And so the guides, my experience with them is, they will be honest with you. They are in a group of highly evolved spiritual beings who want the best for you, who see the most beneficial outcome and the road to get there the quickest, but yet they are simply that, guides. These masters will not, neither will your spiritual guides, they will not do it for you. There are occasions where it's necessary for them to do it for you. Sometimes those are very painful because we are pushing so hard to the left and they know we need to go right, and so they're going to force us right. That means removing people, situations, circumstances from our experience, no matter how attached we are to those, to get us to the outcome that we truly seek in our hearts. They are a group of souls, spirits too, now that they are united with God. Souls that no longer need to take form in physical body as a result of their progress spiritually. Their curriculum was fulfilled in this earthly plane. So the Ascended Masters, instead of taking form, work as guides to allow us the opportunity to unite with them. There have been many Ascended Masters, and it's not that these Ascended Masters don't want to be human anymore. It's that the human existence no longer serves their spiritual growth. Because, as I learned in my hypnosis session from the council, even after we've evolved beyond a point where we need to take form in our physical bodies, there is still contrast, there is still curriculum in those higher evolved, vibrational fields, places of existence that we have to learn and grow through also. So those of us who are in form still, you like how I said that? Because we're all here. All of us who are here experiencing these physical bodies and the density that they possess, even after we leave this body, we still have a soul curriculum. We still have many lessons. We still have many things to embody, learn to integrate into our being. It just so happens that Earth is the fastest way to learn those things. There is so much contrast and there's so much diversity in this physical plane that we are able to grow at a more rapid level. And so even though we don't think at times that we're learning the lessons that we need to, that the Ascended Masters, our spiritual guides, are providing us, we still are growing. The soul continues to expand and grow as a result of the contrast. Beautiful process. And then when we are able to integrate that into our hearts and feel the change that occurs, you feel change, right? You feel that you're giving others more grace. You feel that you're accepting others and situations as they are, while also remaining hopeful that things will change. You are being kind. You're finding forgiveness within yourself, right? You're forgiving others. You're allowing them to be as they are, and you're going on your path. You're recognizing the duality within this experience, right? There's so many things to learn. And so as we continue to evolve in our physical bodies, because it's such a rapid, skyrocketing growth period, once we get to that point where we've integrated all of these aspects, all these parts of our curriculum into our being, then we move forward and we become the guide for others. What a beautiful process, right? We no longer are the student of just these lessons we need to learn. We become a teacher. And as we become a teacher, we align, right? We move up vibration. We become that teacher where we can help other students. And then we become that teacher student. And once we become the integrated version of that, we can move up now to be the teacher of the teachers, right? So it's just this step, because we start recognizing, why wouldn't I want to teach everyone just like these ascended masters and my spiritual guides are? Because it's such a beautiful thing to see the growth that and integrate that into the body, because I know the beautiful feeling that comes with that. I know the wholeness that I feel as a result of that. And so it's just this gradual process of vibrationally moving upward through these different lessons, if you will. I think lessons are such a hard thing because we feel like we're being punished at times, right? But these ascended masters, they haven't just like ascended because one day they left their bodies and stuff like that. It was an ascension of vibration, right? It was a movement of vibration upward. And as a result of that vibration upward, yeah, their bodies were left behind. We have this attachment to these ascended masters. I know I did at one point, and maybe you do, that these ascended masters left their bodies and they went and they took their bodies with them. So they got to keep their form the whole time. But the ascended master knows it's just a body. It's temporary. The atoms of this body, of the body that's watching this video right now, they came from the beginning of creation of this physical reality, and they will stay with the creation after I've moved on from this body, right? This body will deteriorate. As much as I love it and appreciate it, I'm so grateful that it carries me through. I can ride this bike. I can talk with you guys. We can have fun. We can touch each other. We can smell each other. We can hear beautiful music. I can see the nature. I can touch water. I can taste these things. There's all these senses, a beautiful, beautiful thing. But it's just a physical body in a temporary timeline. And so this temporary body will eventually dissolve after I've left it, after the consciousness, after the life force has left to integrate these cells together and get them to join together. Once that's left, it dissolves and it becomes new atoms that move into other forms. And so the ascended master, the enlightened being, understands that. They understand that this is all temporary. This body is temporary. But the thing behind the body, the awareness that's able to perceive these words, that's able to perceive all of this, right? The observer of the experience is not the experience, as Deepak Chopra would say. You are the cosmic consciousness. You are the eternal witness. You are universal consciousness observing itself in different forms. And so when that is understood and integrated, you elevate vibrationally. You go, of course, this physical reality is not the completeness of who I am. The completeness of who I am goes far beyond this body. And that's why Buddha taught the root cause of suffering, or the root cause, suffering is attachment. Attachment to the way I think things should be. attachment to this body, attachment to not leaving this body, thinking that this body needs to stay forever. That's why we're so, gosh darn, involved in longevity and all that stuff. Longevity is great. I'm on this bike because I want to stay here longer with Shauna and with you guys and my family, with Odin, and, be able to connect with them. But eventually that time will run out. And when that time is done, I will have to have asked myself, did I integrate those things that I felt touched my heart as the ascended masters and as the spirit guides were guiding me towards? And if I did, beautiful, I've learned that lesson. I've completed that part of the curriculum. I've grown as a student of the divine, as an aspect, as an extension of God, of source, of the universe. The ascended masters have already achieved that, and they're here to remind us of that through different forms. It could be that the things that I've said just now connected with your heart. And if the things that I've said connected with your heart, then you'll know you're on the right path. Right? I may be a mouthpiece for them right now, for you watching this. Also, nature is definitely going to be a mouthpiece for them to you. And so will talking with your loved ones, hugging your loved ones, reminding yourself that you are worthy, finding gratitude in another, because when you recognize gratitude in another, you're recognizing yourself as a spirit in the other. You recognize the unity that we all have, and voila. And when you start to feel that and you practice that and it becomes integrated and it becomes part of you, that's when you know that you are moving upward vibrationally, you're elevating, and you are joining with those ascended masters. You are becoming an ascended master yourself. You are remembering that you are that. You're not just becoming it, you're remembering that you are that. You're remembering that you are the divine, that you are source. And so I kind of went off topic a little bit, but our ascended masters, who they are, they were once souls just like you and me that inhabited this physical body. They have just simply remembered and integrated into their being, beyond their body, integrated into their being, the understanding that we are not separate, that they are us. They just happen to be different reflections of the divine that is us. It's the same windshield. It's just the light maybe hitting the windshield differently. Or as some of the Buddhists like to say, or Rumi says, like, you're not an ocean, you're not a drop in the ocean, you are the ocean in a drop. And so that drop may leave the ocean temporarily, right? It comes out, you see those little drops of water coming off the ocean, and then what happens? It lands back in the ocean. That is who you are in a soul aspect. You are the tree of life. You may look at yourself as a branch, the small little branch off this gigantic tree of life, this infinite tree of life. But you are the tree. That is the essence of who you are. And so they've remembered that, and now they come through us in our thoughts, in our dreams, in our memories, in our experiences, in other people, to remind us of that very truth. That's who the Ascended Masters are. They're here to remind us to be compassionate, to be loving, to be joyful, to have fun, to enjoy this experience, to be kind. Also to recognize that in this reality, you are the opposite of that. You are the darkness. You are fear. You're anger. And through all of those experiences, helping us grow into an expanded version that God is, right? So you're just continuing the expansion of God itself, of Source itself, of the universe itself. Other than that, I don't really know I can't really tell you much more than that, because I don't have that knowledge base yet. Eventually, one day, when I return, I'll remember that. But for now, in this temporary body, that's all that I have to share, because that's all that I've yet to experience. I don't know much more than that. Those are all things that I understood through my experiences with them, talking with them, hearing them, feeling them, and taking my own lessons along this journey and trying to integrate them into myself. And so that is all I know for now. Next time, shoot me some questions, because I think we're done with this cardio and consciousness session. But shoot me some questions, because sometimes it helps clarify the desire to come through for you to understand from your inner being, your ascended master self. Well, this is one thing actually I want to say. If you think about yourself in a future timeline, you already are an ascended master. You have already attained, right? If there's no timeline, then it means that you are already existing as an ascended master. Think about that for a second. You are, in a future timeline, already an ascended master. Your soul already is that. And so, having watched this, the process to integrate that version of yourself into the now version of yourself is to simply mull it over. Ask yourself, how would I feel if I were that ascended master self now? How would I respond to the situation that I'm struggling with now? If I was that ascended master, which my soul already is, I just am in a separate timeline because of this timeline reality, this time and space reality. How would I be responding if I were inhabiting that ascended master self now? Write it down, meditate on it, do whatever your processes are to get you into the feeling space of being there, and then you are that. And then you practice that, and you integrate it second by second, moment by moment, practice by practice, into every cell of your body. Feel it in the depths of your heart. Feel the emotion that arises as you practice that. And then you are that, right? You become that. Quantum physics, right, when they split these twin molecules or atoms, electrons, it's an electron. The electrons mirror each other. It doesn't matter how far away they are. And so you connect with that space that already is you on a soul level, regardless of timeline, and voila, you are that. You practice that, and you feel it, right? The joy that comes from that is the feeling that you've connected with that. The feelings of freedom, of empowerment, true empowerment, of bliss, of joy that comes all the way up your heart, through your stomach, up your heart, out. That, when you inhabit that, that's when you know you're on the right path. Okay? So I'm going to end with that. Your future self already is an ascended master. I like to end with that. The people who came to the end, you get the goodies now. And the goodies are always at the end. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna stop it. I appreciate you so much. I always love when we do these, and I like when you watch and give me your feedback, because it always helps me. So until our next video, I love you guys. Be well. Remind yourself that you are that ascended master self already. You already are that elevated vibrational being. All you have to do is connect with it. I've given you some processes. Go back to the video, check them out. Lloyd, my brother, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you watching. And next time we will talk more. I love you guys. I got this. Look at this. Hey, look, you can't see my mouth. It's disappeared. No, I'm back. All right, I love you guys. Talk to you later.